Hello, my name is Pilar Silva. I am the parent coordinator at Berkmore Middle School. I want to take this opportunity to talk to you about a topic that has affected not only teachers and administrators, but mainly parents. And the topic is, how do I motivate my teenagers to attend school even if it's virtual? Before we start, I do want to take a moment to introduce myself a little bit more. Like I said, I am the parent coordinator at Berkmore Middle School. It's a position that I hold dear to my heart because I have always said that the success of the children starts at the home, and I firmly believe that if our parents have the right tools and resources to help our students at home, we will have successful students at school. Apart from that, I was a teacher, a Spanish teacher, and I also worked in several special education classrooms. A little bit more about me is that I am a daughter of immigrants. My father was a Cuban refugee and my mother was Colombian. I am a first generation American, and that is something that I'm very proud of. In my home, we only spoke Spanish, but my English was acquired at school. When I started school, I was placed in a sheltered ESOL classroom because Spanish was the only language I spoke. That was the language of my parents. So that's the only language I spoke and understood. As time went on, I picked up on my English, but my parents continued to cultivate their native language, their culture, and their traditions in home. And that is something that I am always grateful that my parents did. Another thing my parents did that, again, I am grateful for is that they always motivate me. To this day, they still motivate me. They always told me that I could be the type of student that I was the way that I applied myself. So if I was applying myself very well in school, then I would be a very good student. And it didn't matter what the subject was, I was always to try my best and never give up. I will tell you, math was my worst subject, but my parents never, ever lost faith in me and knew that if I could only do a C, then that was the best that I could do. I will tell you, I didn't graduate with an A in the class. I never got an A in math, but my parents did recognize the effort and the hard work that I was putting into math, and they continued to motivate me. So let's start with a couple of tips. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I know that my parents did with me, and also some things that I've read that I think would be great for you because we are in this together. I also have a teenage daughter who's in high school and is taking classes virtually. So we are literally in this together. So before we start, think back to when you were a teenager. So when I was a teenager, I remember that I still played outside. Like I still met at the bus stop. I still rode bicycles. Explored. I would go in the backyard or into the woods and see what I can find. I was very active. I was always outside. And I think you and I kind of share the same background. If you're a kid from the 70s, 80s, then, we kind of have the same type of childhood. But now imagine being a teenager today. Today you have access to the internet at your fingertips. The phone is at their fingertips at all times. It's a TV, it's a movie theater, it is a chat room. I mean, there are so many applications. You have Snapchat, you have TikTok, you have Instagram. I mean, the list can go on and on. On top of that, you're in a pandemic. I mean, really, who wants to do schoolwork? I think I wouldn't want to do schoolwork. I would just want to be on my phone all the time. So, sadly, today, teenagers have lost a lot of motivation. And it kind of makes them feel like schoolwork doesn't matter, that it's not important to do, that it's not even relatable. But as parents, it is our responsibility to let them know that it is. So, most kids always ask, what's in it for me? Many students do not find meaning in doing homework, especially with algebra or world history. I read a statement by a youth expert called Josh Shipp, and he said, "You have to do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do." So let's say that again. You have to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. This statement blew my mind because it is applicable in so many areas of life. Sometimes we just do things because we have to do it. But it is important to show our teenagers the value and the message in that statement. For instance, I am in grad school. So if I want to spend time with my daughter and my husband on the weekends, then I try my best to get all of those assignments done during the week. So I do what I have to do so that I can do what I want to do. Attending school, whether it be online or in person, is necessary for any teenager who wants to get into a university of their choice or to be considered for a dream job one day. All right, parents, this is a hard one that I struggle with. Let them fail. Let them learn from failure. I am a mother, so I know this is hard to do. I am constantly finding myself stepping in and trying to rescue my daughter from failing. But I'm not realizing that I'm actually undermining my daughter's ability to grow up. I know there is no parent that wants to see their children fail, but it is through failure that we grow and learn to improve ourselves. When parents prevent teens from experiencing the consequences of failure, they rob a task of its significance and their motivation to be better next time. If your child chooses not to study for a test and fails, more than likely they will be motivated to study next time. As parents with your children, it's all about the outcomes and what they may have to do different later. Talk to them about that. Also, ask them, is there anything else that I can do? Is there anything I can help you with? One thing that you can help them with is help them remember. I know I'm not the only parent to a forgetful child. Teenagers forget, and that's just the reality that we have to deal with. With all the stuff going on and everything that's on their phone, they seem to forget, and it's very easy to lose track of time, to get distracted, and not be organized. But we have to remind them of what they're supposed to do and how to get organized. Instead of nagging them, come up with a solution with them. Develop methods of remembering what they need to do and how to get involved. What's most important is that you're helping them be independent, because once you teach them how to do this, they won't rely on you as much. One of the things that I always do is I tell them to set alarms on their phone. I tell my daughter to put things in her calendar on her phone, because these phones, if it's anything like my child, she does not leave the house without this. It is literally stuck to her hand. So help them put the alarms on their devices, help them use an agenda, help them use the calendar, leave little notes around the house telling them, hey, you have a chemistry test on Friday, and also leave them notes to encourage them. I'm so proud of you. Remember, these little things will help them become more organized and independent. Also, make achievable goals. Sometimes when a teenager sees the size of a task, they get overwhelmed. I know that happens to me, and I'm in my 40s. Sometimes they see the task and they just don't even know where to start, so they just don't do it. Help them to break up the task in little chunks. Help them to take a moment to think about the process and how they can make this easier. By doing this, you are empowering them to work their way through the task. Don't forget to reward them for those mini milestones they reach. Remember, it doesn't always have to be monetary. You don't always have to spend money on them. For instance, with my daughter, I take away a chore. So trust me, they will work hard so they don't have to wash those dishes. Provide incentives. Remember when I said that teenagers always think about what's in it for me? Well, what I just said is a perfect example. When you provide an incentive, it will generate motivation to work harder. By offering rewards for their efforts, improvement, or participation, you reinforce in your teenagers the value of trying hard, working hard, and perseverance, rather than them giving up. Have you ever heard of the app or the test called the love language? We usually take these little quizzes to make our relationships with our partner better, but what better relationship to work on than the relationship of you and your child? Knowing what their love language is very important, especially knowing how your child responds to incentives. Do they respond better with words of affirmations, gift, quality time, physical affection? Remember, knowing the type of incentive that your child will best respond to will increase their motivation and their responsiveness. Lastly, make it fun. This is a motivational principle that applies to people of all ages. Most people are motivated to do something fun rather than to do something boring. Fun is the key ingredient to getting teens active and motivated to participate in social activities. Teenagers respond well to competition no matter the size of the task. Anything can be transformed into a competition. Challenge them to be better from their own previous efforts. I hope these little tips helped you a little bit, but most importantly, remember to tell your students and your children that their future depends on them. Remember, their future depends on them. In Spanish, future is futuro. Remember, their future depends on them. You're just there to guide them along. Thank you.